Hey there, welcome back to the channel. If you enjoy what you're about to see, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your support means a lot. Let's jump right in. I'm not sure if it's relevant to this discussion, but I was massively downvoted for sharing my favorite color in response to a post explicitly asking, "What's your favorite color?" A long time ago, my wife and I disagreed on something. I can't recall the topic now, and she became upset, telling me to look it up. So I did, and it turned out I was correct. That only made her angrier because, according to her, I must have checked the wrong website. She demanded I search again, to which I replied, "Why don't you find the right website and send me the link?" I was criticized for not organizing a birthday celebration they had specifically said they didn't want. During my second year in college, I was the only one among my friends who lived off campus. One of my friends called and asked, "Hey, can we smoke a blunt at your place?" I said, "Sure, but I'm studying right now. Come over in a couple of hours." Unable to wait, he smoked in his dorm room, got caught, was arrested, and evicted. He blamed me for studying, and he wasn't joking. A teacher once got angry at me for sneezing in the middle of an exam. I answered a call too quickly at my job in a call center. The caller was annoyed because she'd expected to be on hold for 30 minutes and wasn't ready when I picked up immediately. When I offered to give her a moment to prepare, she got even angrier and hung up on me. My unstable ex was furious with me for buying plain white socks without asking for his opinion first. At dinner, a friend's wife ordered duck, and I casually mentioned that ducks exhibit homosexual behavior in the wild. She became upset, worrying that gay ducks might face discrimination from straight ducks, and blamed me for ruining her meal. The fact that a duck had been killed for her dinner seemed to escape her notice entirely. I politely declined a piece of cake, but had to repeat myself multiple times because the person insisted. When I finally said, "I already said no and I'm not changing my mind," she became so upset she started crying. Ironically, her father had just complimented my progress with my eating disorder, as I'd managed to eat 5 full bites of the main dishes that day. A big deal for me back then. She shouldn't have pressured me, knowing I struggled with eating, and honestly, I should have been the one upset. When I was about 4 or 5, I accidentally called my cousin horny instead of corny. Not knowing what the word meant, I repeated it when my mom asked if I'd meant to say corny or horny. She lost her temper, slapped me across the face in front of my cousin, and sent me to my room. Even as a little kid, I realized I'd mixed up the words and that her reaction was extreme. I was scolded for breathing too loudly while watching TV because my enjoyment of the show was apparently distracting. In college, my roommate claimed her period pain was due to all the blood rushing to her legs when she stood up, leaving her uterus scraping for blood. I corrected her, explaining that's not how periods work, and she became furious. A friend of mine solved a math problem before our teacher did, and the teacher got extremely angry with him. I told my family I suspected my sister's stepson was being abused by his biological mom because every time he returned from her house, he had nightmares and wet the bed, something that didn't happen when he stayed with my sister. Despite disliking his biological mom themselves, my family became angry with me for even suggesting that she or her boyfriend might be harming him. My mother persuaded me to try out her new hairdresser, who was just starting and needed clients. During the appointment, the hairdresser scratched my ears several times with her comb. I politely asked her to be more careful and even joked about my ears sticking out. She got annoyed and I decided never to return. I paid, tipped, and left. 10 years later, yes, a whole decade, my name somehow came up in a conversation. My mom still went to her. And the hairdresser complained that I hadn't let it go, insisting I should have been more understanding since she was new. She then sarcastically asked if I'd married rich and bragged about losing $30K in the stock market without caring, adding, "Can your daughter say that about herself?" All this over asking her not to scrape my ears 10 years ago. My roommate got upset with me and started avoiding me simply because I mowed the lawn without informing her. I still don't understand why. My parents once asked me to sign a contract, but I refused until I fully understood the terms. They became angry. A teacher pulled me aside during lunch and accused me of stealing a box of tissues. She yelled directly in my 12-year-old face, and I couldn't see where the tissues were because she was blocking my view. When the bell rang, another student walked in, noticed the ongoing scolding, and pointed out the tissues were right behind the teacher. Despite being proven innocent, the teacher never apologized. Now that I've become a teacher myself, I recognize how unprofessional her behavior was, especially over a box of tissues that wasn't even missing. I used to work as a vehicle tester for an autonomous car company. Each car had 2 team members, a driver who focused solely on the road, and a navigator who provided directions. One day, the navigator told me to make a right turn at 73rd Street. I double-checked, asking, "So, turn right at 73rd? He confirmed. I followed his instructions only to find that 73rd was closed for construction. He got angry at me for doing exactly what he told me. When I lived with my parents, I spent an entire day cleaning, vacuuming, doing dishes, and washing windows. But I forgot a single plate on the counter. When my parents returned, they gave me a 90-minute lecture about how worthless I was and how I was ruining my future. Their toxic behavior severely damaged my mental health. In secondary school, my math teacher completely lost her temper at me because the person sitting next to me was cheating during a test. To this day, I have no idea why I was the one getting yelled at, but laughing in her face definitely didn't improve the situation. While walking my dog on a public sidewalk, a woman came running out of her apartment, yelling at me because her dog would go crazy and poop on the floor whenever mine walked past. She demanded that I clean up after her dog. I told her to get lost and reported her to the leasing office for harassment. My husband gave me the silent treatment for a couple of weeks because he dreamed I was cheating on him. A woman once yelled at me after I explained how to use the self-checkout machine at a grocery store. I had worked with similar machines before, which were very sensitive. You needed to place items in the bagging area and leave them there until paying. She scanned her item, then held it in her hand instead of putting it on the platform, staring at the screen in confusion. The screen and the voice prompt repeatedly told her to place item in bagging area. I politely told her she needed to set the item down to continue, and she suddenly exploded, shouting, "How dare you talk to me that way?" I was 17 and had to leave for my break right after to cry. That job quickly taught me how awful people could be. Looking back, this should have been a major red flag. My best friend of over 10 years got extremely upset because I bought a Honda. She claimed I was copying her with my red 2015 Honda, even though she drove a brown 2007 Honda. We were nearly 30 at the time. I ended our friendship in 2021 after dealing with more, much worse incidents like this. A college friend once covered her hair with white acrylic paint while cosplaying for a campus party. She later complained to me about how hard it was to remove and got furious when I agreed, accusing me of being the one who suggested she use it. I denied it because I would never say something so ridiculous, but she refused to believe me and cut me off. Another mutual acquaintance overheard the argument and later confirmed that someone else had given her the advice, but refused to back me up, saying it wasn't my place to interfere. Both of them are no longer part of my life. When my son was a toddler, he had a full-blown tantrum because his right foot wasn't his left foot. A teacher once gave me detention in science class for reading a science book after I had finished all my work. I guess they preferred I just sit and do nothing. I held a door open for a man, and he didn't appreciate it. He seemed offended, probably because I'm a woman and he thought it undermined his masculinity. He even threatened to assault me. I just responded with an overly cheerful, "Thank you," and acted like he wasn't there. Ignoring him seemed to make him angrier since he wanted me to feel intimidated, not friendly. A coworker got upset with me because I set something down on a table in front of her. She claimed I put it down too hard and said it hurt her feelings. My ex-boyfriend, who cheated on me, got angry 5 months after our breakup because I started dating someone new. I'm still confused about his reaction. While at my parents' house, I placed a frozen pizza directly on the oven rack, as the instructions stated. Once it was ready, my stepdad insisted on taking it out himself, but ended up dropping it upside down onto the oven door, making a mess. Both he and my mom blamed me for putting it on the rack in the first place. When I explained that I followed the instructions on the box, they refused to listen. The argument escalated into a heated fight, which eventually boiled down to, "Sometimes your mother is right, because she's your mother." At that point, I'd had enough and just walked out. My husband and I went on a trip to celebrate our 5th anniversary, and 2 people were upset because we didn't invite them. One of them was his brother. These same 2 people were also angry when we went on our honeymoon without inviting them. My aunt stopped talking to me because I don't believe in the idea that people can shapeshift into reptilians.